to another episode of Sports Fanatics United. Once again, I'm your host, Eric Good. Great to have you all back. Today, I'm joined by a very good friend of mine. He's a big Dallas Cowboys fan. That's one reason I really like him. I have Austen Dittmar with me. Austen, great to have you.
Oh, great to be here, Eric.
So, Austen, before we get started, tell us about your teams with other teams besides the Cowboys.
Oh, let's see. Okay, I catch a lot of flack for this, but I've lived in Denver now for 9 months, so I've started to root for the Rockies, the Nuggets, and I guess I follow the Broncos a little because they're always on TV up here. But my actual teams are the Astros, the Rockets, and all things Texas A&M. I'm a diehard Aggie fan, even though I went to Oklahoma State for a year. My whole family was Aggies.
Okay, that's nice. Uh, yeah, those Aggies. Y'all got to get those horns, Get back in a series with those horns for football, man.
Yeah.
All right, Austin. So, let's get started off with our brackets. How's your bracket looking so far?
Oh, I mean, I think I was 23 for 32 or something like that. I had like 9 losses the opening round of 32. So it's average right now. I've only lost one of my Sweet 16 teams, and no Elite 8 teams or Final Four teams. So I guess I would call that a success so far. How about yours?
I lost about two Sweet 16s. I lost New Mexico State, uh, and I lost Wisconsin. Yeah, I know, dumb pick by me, but I just thought Wisconsin would make it. But
Well, hey, the New Mexico State game, Auburn tried to hand them that game.
man,
And New Mexico State was just like, oh, no, we don't really want it.
no, we want to win it the right way. And since this isn't the right way, y'all can have it.
Exactly. I mean, the one kid, it was 3 seconds left, and he's right underneath the basket for a wide open layup, and he tries to kick it out for a three, and they were only down 2 points.
Yeah.
He makes the layup and ties it up, and it goes to overtime.
Oh, that was a heartbreaker for me. But I did.
Absolutely.
I called Liberty. I called. I'm trying to think. I called Murray State. I called.
You mean Morant State?
Morant State. Yeah, sorry.
Yes.
I called them. I called. Man, did you see number 32 for them?
Yes.
That guy. That guy is not a beast. That guy is a monster.
Absolutely.
He was just dominant. He was controlling the paint the whole game, and it's like, I feel like that was also a key for them winning. But man, I'm definitely gonna check their game out Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely.
Trying to look at my bracket here. Belmont losing kind of hurt me. I had them as a sweet. Actually, I lost three because I lost them. Let me see who else I called. I called UC Irvine. That's the other one I was trying to think of. I called them.
Yeah.
But what games are you gonna catch on Saturday and Sunday for sure? Just as a viewer.
Well, of course, everybody in the country, including me, is intrigued to watch John Morant against a much stiffer test. I mean, Marquette's good. They were solid, but Florida State's going to be really big, and they're actually going to match up to Murray State really good. So Florida State is really big, and they're really long. They're going to match up good, and that's going to be a great game to watch today. And then tomorrow, Taco Fall versus Zion Williamson. The 7'6" big man from UCF. He's already came out and said, "I'm not gonna be another one of Zion's highlight tapes."
Right.
So that matchup right there is something I really look forward to tomorrow. I'm enamored by Taco Fall. He can dunk without jumping. He can be standing there and dunk the ball. It's insane.
Man, that was crazy. Last night was actually the first time I watched the game. Well, the majority of a game that he's played in, and looking at him, I was like, "Who is this reincarnated Kevin Garnett?"
Exactly.
Except he's taller. Good gracious, he's just an impressive guy to watch.
Yeah. So that'll be fun, and he'll clog the lane and make it difficult for Duke. Of course, I still have Duke winning and easily, but I think that'll be an interesting matchup. Him and see if Zion can blow by him for a dunk or two.
Now, a matchup I have mainly because I'm a Virginian. that I'm really interested in is Liberty and Virginia Tech because,
Oh yes.
as you see in that in our Facebook group, Tailgate Party Talk, that I've already said that if Liberty wins that game, Blacksburg is gonna get burnt down in anger, and Lynchburg is gonna get burnt down in celebration.
Yep. Nope. That's a all Virginia matchup. That'll be good.
Too
What
bad.
was it? Yeah, Mississippi State Liberty beat.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
One of the yearly 12s over fives.
Man, the fact that 312s, I called, and the sad thing is, I had originally had the right 312s, but like everybody, I overthought my bracket, and I switched to the wrong one of the wrong fives over or 12 over fives.
Yep.
Ah, that hurt. That really hurt me. All right, Austin, let's move on to the UFC's new exclusive pay-per-view deal with ESPN Plus. Me personally, I feel like this is going to come back and bite him in the ass, but I've seen plenty of people that have been like, this is a great because now it's a one-stop shop for all UFC. What's your opinion on it?
Man, I'm so torn on the deal. And just for the people that don't know, ESPN Plus is kind of a platform that you can have on your smart TV. It's just like a Hulu or a Netflix.
Mm-hmm.
It's $4.99 a month, or I think $49.99 for a year.
Mm-hmm.
And ESPN and the UFC have partnered, and they've decided to take their pay-per-views off of just your regular DirecTV or Dish Network that you can order them, and now you have to order them on this ESPN Plus. Now, they are going to make them a little cheaper, which only $5 cheaper. It's going to be $59.99 instead of $64.99.
Okay.
It's not that big, but over the course of 12 events, it's going to pay for your subscription to ESPN Plus. And like you said, there's pros and cons to it. A con would be someone that doesn't have access to the internet. Say, they might just have the DirecTV and no internet access. They're not going to be available to watch pay-per-views anymore.
Right, like out of here in a lot of rural Virginia, basically, it's your satellite provider, satellite internet, which is shaky at best or bust. And that, to me, you're going to lose a good portion of those viewers because, like I said, if ESPN Plus is the only place they can go and get the pay-per-view now.
Exactly. Now, Dana White did emphasize that they're still going to have the pay-per-view events at your Buffalo Wild Wings and your local sports bars for people that don't have internet connection or whatever. Now, I don't know how that's going to work. If Buffalo Wild Wings, we're just going to go with that as the main bar. If Buffalo Wild Wings is going to have to have ESPN Plus, or if it'll be available to businesses in a different way, like it has been on just regular TV. I don't know how that's going to work, but he has ensured that if you would like to watch the pay-per-view, you are going to be able to go to, your Buffalo Wild Wings or whatever your local bar is and still watch the game. That won't change. But I just can't help but think these say a Conor McGregor show sells 1.5 million pay-per-views. Now with this new ESPN deal, what is it going to be? Is it going to be 5% less people? Is it going to be 10% less people? Or is it going to be a 20% less people that are able to purchase it and buy it? And monetary wise, I don't know if it's the smartest thing for the UFC. I understand that they're going all in with ESPN, just like they did with Reebok. It's kind of they're taking it's going to make it so easy for people to access everything on ESPN Plus. They're going to have old fights. It's going to be just like the UFC Fight Pass, if anybody's ever had that. It's going to have everything there. So there are pros, but I don't know if everyone's going to buy it. People like Barbara, she says she's not going to buy ESPN Plus. They might, lose her business, and I just don't know what percentage they're actually going to lose in the long run.
And to me, I'm going to tell you a group that's actually going to win out of this deal, and it's going to be sad because, technically it's not right, but it's the illegal streamers. Those ones
Oh,
you
absolutely.
know, the guys that they post the fight online, and you know they don't require it, but they ask that you chip in like $5 or $10. I mean, they're gonna clean up on this just
Yep.
because, you know, hey, if you want me to chip in $5 or $10, sure. And let's just say they get 1,000 people that chip in $5. They made $5,000 off that fight. You
Exactly,
know?
exactly. Your Reddit streamers are going to thrive under this new deal.
Yes, sir.
And one bundle that I did read that the UFC is offering is you can get a full year of the ESPN plus one pay per view for $79.99. So it eventually it's gonna knock that one pay per view in half. You're gonna pay $30
Hmm.
for the pay per view plus the subscription. So that's something to kind of make it a little
More enticing.
make people want to purchase the ESPN Plus is that you can do that bundle and get a cheaper pay per view to start. But I agree with you. The legal streamers are going to thrive off this.
Oh yes. Uh, I mean, don't take my word for it personally, because I have deep disdain for ESPN, and and let's just say there's no, with Dana White, it's like the reason why I'm not as interested in the UFC as I once was, maybe 5, 6, 7 years ago, is just the way it's the way he carries himself. I mean, and then the way it seems like fighters have to impress him instead of just going out there fighting. Let the fans basically decide. Let's talk about Conor's return.
All
Uh,
right.
you got more. You're a big Conor McGregor fan, as I know, so you probably have plenty more info on it than I do. But inform our listeners about it all.
Well, the man has options. He's the owner of 5 of the 6 biggest pay per views in UFC history. He can kind of pick and choose what he wants to do. He's been very outspoken that the only way he will do a co-main event is if they give him a share of the company. That's kind of insane to think, but then you think about it. He does own 5 of the 6 biggest pay-per-views in the history of the sport.
Mm-hmm.
He is that big. It's arguable to say that Conor McGregor is just as big as the UFC. Everyone knows about the guy. He's got this new Proper 12 Irish whiskey line. He fought Floyd Mayweather. He's always in the news, a lot of times for bad things. He likes to live his life. He's very flashy. He's very big. And as far as him fighting, July 6th would make the perfect timing for him. But the UFC has kind of been real straightforward about them not wanting to make the main event a non-title fight. And you think about, okay, yeah, that makes sense. I understand that. But at the same time, Nate Diaz and Conor McGregor was not a title fight,
All right.
and they had two of the biggest pay-per-views ever. So I understand where the UFC is coming from. They want to put a Woodley or a Usman in a Covington, John Jones versus somebody on that main billing of International Fight Week. But man, I personally, Conor versus anybody would have sold more tickets.
Right.
So if Conor isn't gonna sell for the co-main event, he's got Jorge Masvidal has called him out in the past couple days. It came out yesterday, I believe, that Tyron Woodley called him out, and then he's also telling people that he's ready for the rematch of Mayweather. Now, knowing Floyd Mayweather, he's not going to give him that rematch.
Right.
Although, unless he has blown through a lot of his money, maybe he will. But if I had to pick, if you had a gun to my head and told me who's he going to fight next, I would say probably UFC 240 in August, and maybe Nate Diaz. The third match. I think it's Diaz, Masvidal, or Woodley, one of those 3.
To me, you know, like you said, the Diaz fight to me is the most intriguing one because they're split right now, 1-1.
Exactly.
You gotta, just for the sake of the fans, you gotta settle that. You gotta give us that trilogy. You know, because I'm not gonna lie. In the first fight, my heart wanted Diaz, but my head kept saying Conor. But then when Diaz actually got the submission victory, I was like, whoa,
Yeah.
seriously. And then, second fight, I was like, Connor's not gonna get caught sleeping this time. And sure enough, he won the second bout. So UFC,
Oh,
give us that third bout that we deserve.
yeah, their second bout was one of the all-time great fights. It was a 5-round war. They
Right,
stood there. They stood in a phone booth and boxed is the saying that they use.
right,
They traded blow for blow for 5 rounds, and it was a razor thin win for Conor. It wasn't like he dominated Diaz for 5 rounds. It was back and forth, and Conor, he got really tired in the third round of that second fight and had to come back in the fourth and fifth rounds and win those rounds to win the fight. So, yeah, I agree. That would be a great matchup. August, maybe do something. They don't have the venue for 240 set.
hmm
Maybe go to California. Go to Nate's Hood
right.
down there in Los Angeles or something. Uh, but yeah, that's what I think he would do.
And
But like I said, the man has options. He can do what he wants. He doesn't need the money right now.
right,
He's not going to lose his popularity anytime soon. But whoever he fights, he needs to win a fight.
yeah.
You know, he's on a little skid. He hasn't won in a couple years.
But I just feel like that Diaz McGregor fight, Diaz McGregor 3, that's basically a license to print money for the UFC. If I was to influence him to go in any direction, that would be the direction I would go personally.
Absolutely.
Okay, Austin. Um, let's move on to the NBA. First, LeBron James, as of Friday, has officially been eliminated from the playoffs. First time since his second season in the league, I believe. Uh, First and foremost, what is your opinion on the problems with the Lakers?
Oh, I mean, they're young. They're so young, and you had all these kids that had to go through the middle of the year thinking that they were going to be traded every single day,
Mm-hmm.
and LeBron kind of being out in the open about not minding if they're traded, and I can only imagine what these first and second year, a lot of them are second year players, are thinking. They get LeBron. They were actually not playing bad. They were I think as high as fourth in the West
Yes, they were.
after about 25, 30 games.
Mm-hmm.
And it was like then once they got there, it was okay. How can we do better? We can go get AD. We can trade for Kemba Walker or John Wall. A few of the names that have been mentioned, but that put so much unneeded stress on the kids that instead of them gelling together and really becoming one unit, it fractured the team, and that was their ultimate downfall. They lost the game. They lost their season at the trade deadline,
Right.
uh, and they've just never recovered. And people can say, "Oh, LeBron's not doing that good." LeBron's doing his job on the court. He's still averaging 25, 8, and 7, or that's off the top of my head. I'm sure he's somewhere right around those numbers. So he's still doing his job. It was all the other distractions, and that's part of being the Los Angeles Lakers. You're Showtime. You're in the big stage. So you're going to have all those other distractions, and how he handles those was going to be how the Lakers season ended up going.
And you're close. It's 27, 8.5, and 8 actually on his stat
See,
lines.
even a little better than I thought.
Yeah, but to me, the pro- I mean, a lot of people are putting this at the feet of Luke Walton, but you got to go a little further up the food chain. This is on the feet of Magic Johnson.
Absolutely.
Magic Johnson. I mean, he could have put it into this right when it started. I mean, he could have just said, "Yeah, we're looking to shop all these guys," or, no, we're always active and listening for trades, but we're only gonna make a deal that actually absolutely makes perfect sense for us. I mean, to let
Yep.
this circus continue to go on, and I'm a big Lakers fan, so this really hurts me. I mean, I didn't expect much more than the eighth seed from them this year anyway, because as I've always been told, and I've always told other people too, it's hard to expect a team to go from nothing to contender just like that. I mean, I don't care if if you brought back Michael Jordan in his prime to this team. I eighth, seventh, eighth seed has been the best I'd have saw for them this year.
Yep.
But like you said, when the kids sit there and they kept on wondering, it's the day today, it's the day today. Are we going to get traded today? That wears on you. And I mean, Luke Walton's going to get unfairly, in my opinion, be fired at the end of this year just because somebody's got to be the scapegoat. And for Magic to basically save himself, Luke Walton's got to go.
Absolutely.
But
I agree.
the most important thing Magic's going to have to do this offseason is one, he's going to have to. Some of these guys are going to have to go because they're going to hold on to this for the rest of their Laker career. Let's just say Alonzo or Josh Hart or a Kuzma. Out of that group, two of them probably going to have to go, just because they're going to be wondering every day now, am I being traded? And these kids aren't used. They're used to being the most desired people on the team. They're not used to hearing about we don't want you here because we need somebody better to put around LeBron. So it's a mess out there. I'm not going to use the word exactly that I want to because let's not get that vulgar on this show, but it's a cluster mess. I'll just put it like that. It's a cluster mess in LA.
Yeah, and it doesn't help that they're in the Western Conference right now with teams like the Thunder and the Rockets and the Nuggets and the Warriors. Like,
right.
It is such a hard. LeBron's not in the East anymore. He can't take the Cavs and just run through the rest of the East. He's with the big boys now.
Good thing
it just makes it so much harder. And like you said, some of those guys are going to go, like you said, because it lingers around. They're going to remember that, but also because they're going to need another superstar, whether it be Kawhi or AD or whoever it is. They're going to have to they're going to probably have to trade for AD. I assume it seems like AD's, in my opinion, is kind of checked out of New Orleans. They're resting him on just weird days for really no reason, just sitting him more or less.
Pretty much.
So it seems like he's got one foot out the door. I know they've said that they're not going to trade with the Lakers, and the Lakers made the Godfather offer, but I definitely see Anthony Davis in the purple and gold next year.
Yeah, the Lakers are going to have to bring in a third team, but I can see that too because, like you said, if the Pelicans rejected that Godfather offer, there's no way the Lakers make this deal without a third team, and that third team is going to have to win also. So, the Lakers are going to have to give up a lot. But the most important decision the Lakers are going to make this offseason is who's going to be their next head coach. I mean, to me, Luke Walton has actually improved his team every year since he's been head coach. That's why, like I said, he's going to be unfairly fired because basically when he came in, Luke Walton had complete crap. The Lakers were the laughing stock of the league, Their fans, these kids, they're going to... No, the Lakers had nothing when he got there. And for him to basically every year they've been improving. Now, this year you basically take the team that he was improving, you get rid of the pieces, Randall's gone, and you bring in LeBron, which, you would expect that to be an improvement, but you got to develop the chemistry. It hurts my soul as a Lakers fan, Austen. It really does. Let's talk about those Nuggets up there, though. I mean, let's talk about a team that's actually on the rise majorly in the league right now, the Denver Nuggets. Man, are they rolling this year.
Yeah, it's kind of a surprise. Everybody expected them to be good, but they have a legit chance of. I don't know. I don't have off the top of my head how close they are to the Warriors, but they're right there for the number one seed. And I would have never believed that coming into the year. Jokic, he's cementing his place as I would say top 3 center in the league. Embiid sticks out to me as probably the best, but Jokic is right there. Jamal Murray, the Isaiah Thomas, it didn't work out. That's kind of a sad thing. But
Right.
best of luck in his future team. He might go back to the Celtics. But the thing that I'm looking forward to more than anything is the playoffs. If the Nuggets are a 2 seed and the Rockets are a 3 seed, the potential for a Rockets and Nuggets second round matchup.
Tug at your
And
heartstrings.
that's my Homer fan talking. But I would love to be able to watch the Rockets play here in Denver in the playoffs.
That series will be tugging at your heartstrings, won't it?
Absolutely, I wouldn't know who to. No, I'm a Rockets fan first.
Oh, and I just checked, and right now, as of this recording, the Warriors and the Nuggets are deadlocked on top of the West at 49 and 22.
Yeah,
Um,
that's crazy.
and right now, I mean, especially if the Nuggets can get the number 1 seed, they'll be matched up either against the Jazz or the Spurs, most likely.
Well, you can't say anything about the last four, the 5 through 8 in the West, because they're all within one game right
Right.
now.
Hmm.
So you might as well just flip a coin with those.
Yeah, because OKC, they didn't even play, and they went from what, seventh to fifth,
Well, I think it was 8th to 5th.
eighth to fifth.
Yeah,
Man, what a day off.
exactly. That bottom half of the Western Conference, the 5 through 8, they're locked in. The A seed is about 6 games ahead of the next closest. So 5 through 8, they're all going to make the playoffs.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of who's going to be where between the Thunder, the Clippers, the Jazz, and the Spurs. They're playing musical chairs, and they'll play it until the last game of the season.
Man, that's a hell of a promotion, though. That's the opposite of Friday. Instead of getting fired on your day off, you got promoted on your day off.
Exactly.
Let's go to the East now, and let's talk about the surprise team to me. I mean, I expected the Bucks to be good, but I didn't expect them to be best in the league good, you know?
Yeah,
And
it's a coming at, this was the transition year that Giannis went from all the potential in the world to kind of showing that he's there. He's probably not probably he is the best player in the NBA right now.
uh-huh,
Overall game, James Harden by far is the best scorer,
uh-huh.
but Giannis, as far as your overall basketball game, the person that you'd want to build your team around, it's Giannis. I agree. They've taken a huge leap, and I called this actually before the season. I'm really proud. I said that this was going to be their Giannis's breakout season, that he was going to kind of take the throne from LeBron more or less, and he absolutely has.
Undoubtedly. I mean, looking at the standings right here, I mean, I expected this to be more of Boston's conference, but man,
Yeah, the Celtics are in 5th place.
who would have expected that before the season started? You know,
Not me.
I surely didn't. Indiana, even though Oladipo's out, they're still holding on to fourth. I mean, they're a half game from Boston taking it from them, but man,
Yep.
this NBA season is wild.
It definitely is. It's a little more parity. You got a team like the Nets. Who would have ever thought that the Nets would be in position for the playoffs? And here they are, the 7th seed, with about 12 or 13 games to go.
Hmm. You got the Heat, the Magic, and the Hornets right within striking distance of the playoffs in the East. And man, who'd have had those teams?
Exactly.
But I'll tell you, there's one thing we all could agreed on at the beginning of this year, though. The Knicks were going to be terrible.
Yes.
But I didn't.
The Knicks are preparing.
I did not. I didn't expect them to be worse than the Cavs this year. But man, are they bad? And
Hashtag tanking for Zion.
I'm glad that I'm glad that Porzingis got out of there, man, because he deserved better than that.
I agree, and now you have Luka and KP on the same team in Dallas, and man, is their future turned around and looks super bright right now.
Tell me about it.
They kind of came out of nowhere. They were young, and they had Dennis Smith Jr. and a few other pieces, and they were gonna compete, but they weren't gonna win anything. And all of a sudden, you draft Luka, you trade for Porzingis, and and they're going to be one of the favorites in the West next year. You
Hmm.
know, a chance at a 3 or 4 seed, maybe a 5 seed.
And see, I love deals like that. It's because Dallas knew they weren't going to do anything this year, but they realized if we lay down the foundation for next year now, get these guys a chance to play together and gel together this year. Next year, they get out of the block off and running, and like you said, they become to most people a surprise team that gets the 3, 4 seed in the West next year. But the two guys like you and I who actually watch, it's like, yeah, we somewhat expected it because they had last year to really get together and learn each other's game and gel as a team.
Yep, they made the moves this year to compete for the next 6 or 8 years.
Because the most important thing to me when it comes to deals and whatnot is a team needs an off season together. They need that complete off season together just to hash everything out and get everything put together and whatnot. Because yeah, you can take a 500 team and make a move now, and yeah, you get them to about 5 or 6, but I don't expect much from them just because they didn't have that off season together. But good move, Dallas.
Absolutely.
All right, Austin. One of my favorite times of the year is coming up. MLB opening day starts this Thursday. I'm a big Yankees fan. Yeah, as y'all have heard probably
Boo.
as you've heard in this podcast probably, I've ran all across the country with my teams, and I take a lot of flack for it, and great and gladly so. But man, the AL this year, the top of the AL is just loaded. I mean, the Astros, they're loaded as ever. The Yankees and the Red Sox, they're basically in the arms race for the AL East once again. AL Central, that's going to be
Cleveland and everyone else.
pretty much.
The White Sox are making moves, kind of like the Mavericks, setting themselves up for the future with the Eloy Jimenez contract. So the White Sox are a team that like Derek wrote his article about. Could they do what the Atlanta Braves did last year?
Mm-hmm.
So that's kind of a storyline that I look for in the AL Central.
But man, I'm gonna tell you right now, in the NL East, not just the NL East, but the entire National League, I believe the Braves are going to be the class of the NL next year, just because they're loaded, man. They've got the talent on the big league club, and they got the talent in the minors. Man, the Braves are set up to have another one of those '90s runs again. In my opinion, if not if even everything, if most things go right for them, they're set up for a big run, man.
They definitely have they have the potential to do that. I actually have I have the Bryce Harper Phillies winning winning the NL East, and it's not just because of Harper. They also signed Andrew McCutchen, Segura. They signed Nola long term, and they traded for JT Realmuto. The Phillies, I believe it was the first team ever to trade for 3 different All-Stars from the year previous. So they made huge moves. The NL East, you got Atlanta, Philly, and Washington. NL Central, that's another. Just like you said, the whole NL is so stacked. The Central, you have the Brewers, the Cubs, and the Cardinals. Any of those teams could win the division. And then in the West, you have the Rockies, the Dodgers, and the Diamondbacks. Same thing. Any of those 3 teams could win the division. So that's kind of my 9 teams that are going to be in the 6 playoff spot or 5 playoff spots for the NL. It can be any of those 9 teams, and it's going to be really exciting to watch this year.
And there's 2 teams that I've got to tip my cap to. Even though they're not going to win this year, I can just appreciate the moves that they made in the offseason this year to set up their foundation for the future. That's the Reds and the Padres. The Padres, they finally decided to spend the money on and went out and got Machado for 10 years, $300 million. I mean, nobody expects them to really do too much this year. They might challenge for a wild card at best. But, I mean, just, giving the fans out in San Diego something to come to the ballpark for every day this year.
Absolutely.
And the Reds, they're expected still probably to be last place in the NL Central. But the fact that they actually made those moves to actually give fans something worth coming out to the ballpark for, it's the little things like that that, as a fan, if I was a fan of those teams, I'd really appreciate. Just give me something that's worth coming out here to the ballpark for you to take my money like that.
Absolutely. That's all you can ask for as a fan is for your teams to just make an effort. Not every team is gonna. There's only one team that wins the championship in each sport every year.
Mm-hmm.
So that means there's 29 or 31 teams in these sports that don't win.
Mm-hmm.
So as a fan, you just want your organization to continue to try to be better, to continue to make moves to help the team.
Now, in the case of the Rays, I can understand why they avoid the big name signings because, as you see, a year like last year, they trade away their longtime stalwart Longoria, and the team still wins, what, 90, 91 games last year?
Yeah, I think 90 wins, yeah.
And they play the Red Sox and the Yankees tough. At least with their way of putting the club out on the field, it's proven to bring some success. I guess, yeah, at best you can expect a wild card from them, but at least they've shown that with this formula they have, they can compete. So I can live with that as a fan. But
I mean, and imagine they won 90 games having to play the Yankees and the Red Sox like 35 times.
Mm-hmm.
They played them each 17 or 18 times. So you got to give them credit. And talk about big free agent signings, Eric. They signed Charlie effing Morton.
Yeah.
I mean, how big is that's huge? That really solidified their rotation now with Snell, Morton, and Glasnow as their three-headed monster at the top of the rotation. I have them. I have, of course, the AL East is going to have your division winner, and it's going to have both of your wild cards in my mind.
Man, anytime the Rays even make any kind of move like that, the Rays are already a scary team to any Yankees fan anyway, and for them to actually go out and make a move like that by bringing Morton in, that just
exactly. And I hope Charlie's not getting too old. He had a little bad second half of the year last year with the Astros, but the first half of the year he had a sub 2 ERA, a 12-3 at the All-Star break.
Mm-hmm.
He still has it. I think he's going to succeed. I wanted him to succeed. He gave us a World Series.
But as far as the AL goes, I've got the Yankees finally toppling the Red Sox to take the division. Red Sox, of course, is going to be another wild card team.
Yes.
But, I mean, one of the underrated signings that just happened this past week, the Yankees have signed Gio Gonzalez to a minor league deal so far. I mean, with Severino and Sabathia not being able to go opening day, it would be stupid for the Yankees not to have him on the 25-man roster at some point in April because, yeah, he had somewhat of a down year last year, but he can still give you quality innings,
Absolutely, and that's all you ask for out of the Yankees. They have a superb bullpen. They need somebody to give you 5 or 6 solid innings and then hand it five solid innings and hand it off to the bullpen.
Yeah, the Yankees basically are a 5 and dive club. That's all you need.
Exactly.
Is 5 innings. The AL Central, of course, I still have Cleveland. Until somebody actually decides to step up and decide, hey, we actually want a chance for the division like Minnesota did 2 years ago for a cup of coffee. AL West, I still got the Astros. My wild cards out the AL, I've got right now the Rays and the Rays and the Red Sox, excuse me. Just because, I mean, Mike Trout is sounding that deal, but the Angels, as I said in the last episode, they need to get that man some help.
Yeah. Until the Angels get pitching, I don't see them competing for the division or the wild card. I think the A's have a very good shot coming out of the AL West as far as a wild card. And a dark horse for me, too, is the Mariners. They kind of traded Paxton and Segura last season, but they still have Mitch Haniger, Corey Seager, Jay Bruce, D. Gordon. They have a very solid ball club still, and I believe they started out with their Japan series. I think they swept the A's.
Mm-hmm. This
So
would
that's kind of a dark horse team that might sneak into the wild card race. Seattle was actually in first place in the AL West last year for the first half of the season or so. They were kind of in and out of first place, so they're not that far off.
Seattle. Every year it seems like for the last 6, 7 years, I've been saying, look out for Seattle this year. Look out for Seattle this year, and they always come to let us down. And this would be the damn year that they decide, hey, we got rid of everybody. Let's just go out there and give our best.
Exactly.
And they
Got
grab
nothing to lose now.
Yeah, and they grab a wild card spot. This would be the year for them to do something like that.
Absolutely.
All right, in the National League, I've got, of course, the Braves. I've got them winning the division. In the NL East, I've got the Nationals in second because even though Bryce is gone, I feel like now as a team, the Nationals are actually going to be better. Not that Bryce was a problem or he, made them worse. It's just the will he be there, won't he be there question isn't over the Nationals this year.
Less distractions.
Yeah, and as Derek has said before, the Nationals were injury-wise, were one of the most unlucky teams last year. I think he lost, I want to say, from their opening day roster, what was it? He said 60% of the games available to them.
Wow.
Yeah, it was a crazy number we were talking about. Because he's like, if you actually look into the advanced stats, the Nationals were a 90-win team, and I think he said the Rays were a 92-win team. So, just for it to be that close, even though the Nationals finished right there at around 82 wins last year, was it? I mean,
yeah.
And the Phillies, I don't have them. I have them in third this year, only because I'm a big proponent on it's going to take a little time for them to basically like with the standing move for the Yankees last year. It took a little time before he got into his groove in New York. And I feel like that same thing is going to happen for the Phillies. I feel like it's just going to take a little time for them to get their groove, the new guys to get their groove in Philadelphia, and they'll make a push at the end. But I just don't see it playing out this year. Next year, though, look out for them. The Mets. That's another team I have to tip my cap to. I have to tip my cap to the Mets. They made moves to actually bring in, what was it, Cano? Who else they brought in?
They're giving DeGrom some help.
Yeah. I mean, but I don't see it working out for them this year either. And of course, the poor Miami Marlins. Poor Miami.
Yeah, what is Derek Jeter doing down there in Florida?
Man, Derek Jeter, I thought there was nothing he could do to make me not like him, but he's really trying to push that bill down there.
Exactly. I don't understand.
And in the NL Central, I've got the Cubs winning it. I've actually got St. Louis in second, Milwaukee in third, Pittsburgh in fourth, and the Reds in fifth. In the NL West, I'm just going off the top of my head from what I wrote down. I got the Dodgers winning it. Got the Rockies in second, the Padres in third, Diamondbacks fourth, and that leaves the Giants in fifth, I believe.
Yep.
Wild card from the NL, I've got the Nationals and the Nationals and the Rockies, excuse me, in the wild card. And but the NL, it's basically you can make your prediction in the NL now, and in September it'll look completely different because the NL is it's wild this year. It looks like on paper.
The NL is like our March Madness brackets.
There's
no telling what's gonna happen.
Man, I'm telling you, it's crazy out there in the NL this year. But baseball is going to be very fun to watch this year, in my opinion. It's just, I hope we don't get as many strikeouts as we did last year because last year was the first year, I think, in MLB history where we had more strikeouts than base hits. That's a shame right there.
Yeah, sure. I believe it was.
So let's hope we get some. Hope we get some more hits this year. But let's just hope we get a fun baseball season like we usually do.
Absolutely.
All right, Ted. I want to bring a hypothetical situation to our attention now. going back to the NBA, you know right now that they have conferences, and in our talks in our groups on Facebook, you know that I've been a big proponent of, as far as the postseason goes, the NBA should do away with conferences. Just because at this point, what's the purpose of them? I obviously believe the only league that should still probably have conferences for their playoffs to determine anything is the NFL. I mean, not the, excuse me, Major League Baseball. Because, you know, with the DH and the no DH for the AL and NL, I mean, at least there's a reason why you have them separated. But let's just start, since the NBA playoffs are near, let's go with them. What are the pros and cons to you if the NBA eliminated conferences?
Honestly, I don't see very many cons to it. I don't know how you can make an argument that it would be bad. You would get the best 16 teams in the playoffs every year. I guess one of the cons would be for the Eastern Conference teams, the second half of the 5th through 8th seeds in the Eastern Conference that squeak in because they're in the Eastern Conference, and the 7th or 8th seeds in the East sometimes even have losing records.
Mm-hmm.
So that would be a con for that side, for the East. But as far as the West, like not necessarily this year. I looked at it and I think it's kind of pretty well split up, where you would have 8 from each, more or less. I don't know if it's exact, but on a normal year, like you would have teams like the Wolves, the Mavs, the Kings, the Lakers, who would have a chance to get one of those spots, even though that they maybe are the 9th or 10th best team in the West.
Right. I mean, I know one of the cons that some of the people brought up when I brought that question up was, well, what about the travel? That's a lot of travel for a first round game. But look at it like this. I mean, sometimes you have let's say let's say like a Cleveland, for instance. They could have a game in, let's just say, Oklahoma City, and come back tomorrow night and have a game in Cleveland, you know, during the regular season. What's to say in the playoffs, you know? I mean, yeah, I can understand that as being a concern, but
you could adjust the schedule.
Yeah,
it's the schedule's not set in stone. You could adjust that to make up for it.
And I feel like you said, you get the best 16 teams, which as a sports fan, that's all we ask for. We want the best teams in the postseason. I don't if it's a crying shame that you have 50-win teams in the Western Conference sometimes not making the playoffs, and in the 7 and 8 seed in the Eastern Conference, they got losing records and they're in the playoffs.
Exactly.
You know, I mean, yeah, you'd be like, well, they should win their division, or they should be higher in the standings in their conference, but you know, they didn't control, like, you know, which conference they went into. You know, that's decided by the NBA when they entered the league, or when things got shifted around. And Memphis needs to go in the Eastern Conference, man.
Yeah, exactly. They're in Tennessee. That's eastern half of the United States.
Yeah, exactly. So if you're going to sit there and justify Memphis in the Western Conference, and let's just say a few years ago when the Clippers in Memphis, when they were in the playoffs, if you can justify that for them going back and forth, why can't that be done with the best 16 teams? You know?
Exactly.
But I mean, I want the best 16 teams in the NBA. I want the best 10 in Major League Baseball. I want the best, I want the best 12 in the NFL, and I want the best 16 in the NHL. I feel like in men's college basketball, I feel like we get as close to the best 64 as we do already with the tournament. I mean, this year in particular, I feel like the committee did a really good job.
Yeah, I feel like they finally got it right this year.
I think that net ranking that they had was a big help to them, because I feel like that influenced, you know, with quad 1, quad 2, quad 3 games. I feel like that was a big positive for, you know, getting that right this year. So kudos to them for that. NCAA college football, I want to say that right now probably that should go to 6 teams. 4 to me is, I mean, yeah, I know that keeps the kids out a little longer, but
Like 6 teams with the top 2 seeds getting a bye.
Yeah, because right now
I like that idea.
Because I mean, just eliminate some of these bowls, man. Because I mean, really, who's gonna really have to call the Dollar General Bowl must-see TV? I mean, who's gonna call the Poinsettia Bowl must-see TV unless you're a fan of those 2 teams? Half the time, before Christmas Day, I don't even know which bowls have been played. I don't even know the name of half the bowls, to be honest with you, because it's too many of them. I mean, to me, any bowl before Christmas is just basically the ultimate participation trophy.
Yes, I agree.
One day, Austen, somebody will tell me that you can rule the sports world, and I'm going to make a lot of changes.
Yeah, exactly.
And
I don't know if we'll ever get it right with NCAA football. It's so hard. I appreciate that they're trying at least.
Yeah, I mean, because we could go back to back in the day when the national champion was just named by basically a bunch of newspaper writers, and that is the worst way to name a champion. But
exactly.
Let's just be glad we're not in those days anymore. Well, Ted, it's been great having you on the show, and we hope to have you back anytime that you want to be back on, buddy.
Absolutely. It was a pleasure being on. All
right. That's going to be our episode for today. Remember, you can follow us on Twitter at Forever Fanatics and on our Facebook page, Sports Fanatics United. I'm your host, Eric Good, and until next time, Sports Fanatics.